The markets are going up, and this is what we were looking for to play out. And it seems that it's picking up some steam now to the upside, and on new all-time highs for the S&Ps. The Nasdaq 100 must be there now, and I don't know where the transports are today. I haven't even looked. Let's see. They're not moving. We'll see what they do. They pulled back. You got a topping tail on the weekly there, but they're pressing right up against new all-time highs. And so here's the Qs pushing up to new all-time highs, and the Russell is already there. It's higher this morning. So part of the risk today is there's a gap in crap. So we'll see how that goes. It's not, just looking at the Russell here, it's coming out of a consolidation. So, it had 2 days of rest. Actually, maybe looking inside the third one back, it could have been sideways at the latter part of the day. So it could be well rested to move up. So as we'll just see as it goes up, are there any breakout failures on the 5-minute? We'll see, to see, can the momentum continue, or does it just start to pull in? And even if it does, in any case, the trends are up. We just don't want to get caught in something that, could start pulling back any significant amount. There's nothing to suggest that's going to happen. But, when you wake up on a Monday and, the markets are already up, 100, well, Dow is up 145 points here. So, it's getting moving, and the Dow having been the laggard and something, it's gone. I hope it's going to be there whenever they find out what happened. What I had written about in the letter over the weekend was the fact that, everything that was playing out, the Dow now has a void or, a clear way up toward this old high. Now, that doesn't mean it can't pull back along the way, but just looking at the pattern here, the bottoming tail, and it's a little bit of a crazy pattern because it was in an uptrend. And, there's the news that's plagued this market. Prices break the trend, come down to next support, or turn right back up again. And so now you've got this little rest, and it's breaking out, which could result in a measured move, pushing it right up into that area. So, which suggests to me, we were looking at some plays that could continue that have been strong, but if the Dow can push up that way, some plays may be in Dow stocks, because if the Dow can do that, some Dow stocks are going to have to perform here. So that's something I'm looking at once the market opens, and see which ones gap and what they look like, and so on. Bonds flipping back down from this resistance, and that's what we want to see at this moment. We want to see yields go up and bonds come in. There are, the yields are down at the bottom of the base because it's inverse, and so here's the 30-year. You could see we really did not want to see bond yields breaking down below this prior low here. That would have been bearish because short-term interest rates have been going up. So that would have gotten them closer to an inversion. They're not even, well, they're getting closer, but point being, it would be getting tighter if these yields went down, and that's a concern. So with them moving up, they're not up a huge amount, but moving up is the right direction. Gold backed off a little bit, had its day on Friday. It's been down a whole bunch, and so it got a little climactic here, and you got a sell setup failure. And this kind of a sell setup, just take note, it rarely works. And hold on, this thing moved. what rarely works, and you see prices trending down for a while, you may think, okay, this is free money because it's so, the trend is so strong. Well, when it's trending like this, and like this was in a very controlled way, and then when it accelerates lower, and this wasn't, I mean, it was only 3-4 days. And then you got, this was a bit of a wide range bar compared to these. So you had a wide range bar breaking down, fine. 1, 2, 3, fine. And then a continued move to the downside, another wider range bar that turns into a bottoming tail bar. So the point being, after a trending move, and then prices accelerate where you get a 3, 4, 5 bar move up and a topping tail as a sell setup, don't do it. Sometimes they do make retest patterns and then prices go up, but in some fashion, this setup rarely works. And I'm not suggesting that it fails in this way all the time. Sometimes it goes down a second day and goes up, or maybe you get the complete retest, but it doesn't produce this. And so keep that in mind when you see a trending move and then this accelerated move, and where you're close to the prior high. I've talked about that in other ways, where you get a sell setup that's close to a prior low, or a buy setup that's real close to a prior high. You got to be skeptical of it. But the other part to put together is the trending move that had happened, and then the acceleration, and putting all those things together, you've got a low probability sell setup, to break through the lows, and maybe it goes in your face like that did. Okay. So oil trending up here. I saw this one thing that I have, which had been showing relative strength. I think that's the symbol. Was up like $1. It was like one trade. I don't know if it's real. I know it is offered at $12.60, but it's an energy stock. So why, I didn't check the news, why it's up $1. But, oil has been rebounding, and that should help energy. And it has, that particular stock is stronger than many, and that's why I picked it. But look at what happened here. That the energy sector ETFs, right? This is just one of them. I think it's the more diversified one, but they all look pretty much like this, where they broke down. And this is where we had that WLL stock that I picked for a spread because of this. And it broke down, and figured, well, breakdown out of a base, void below, it should keep going. And oil stabilized, and it moved right back up into the base, which is highly unusual. And so now the fact that it did that, we've got a situation where this is a breakdown failure, a downside shakeout. Can it go sideways here a bit? And then, then go higher. And if it can do that, well, a lot of these oil stocks should do well. That should be one of the places to possibly be if this actually holds up and doesn't pull back from here. And, so energy is going to be a place where we may see money flow into. We're going to keep an eye on that. We're not so much in a rush because of the fact that sometimes you get failures and failures. I mean, it could be so crazy that the fact that this failed after this very convincing breakdown, maybe it doesn't continue up. So what do? We just stay away and wait for some more information, or find things that are showing relative strength. And the other thing that I think we talked about it on Friday. I don't remember. Maybe it was Friday afternoon, or anyway, I think we talked about it in here last week. Regardless, we talked about interest rates, and this being down here, what we want to see is that they move up, and they started to move up. And what that means, how do we profit from that? Well, we look to financials, which have been showing some bullish price action, and they're up a little bit here. Every time they've come up into this range, they've fallen back down. Every time up, they fall down. Now, this time, this move down started, I believe, on tariff news, whatever news this market jiggles around day to day. But rather than continue to fall, it came right back up. And that's bullish. And it's been going sideways here. So with the financials acting bullishly at resistance, if they can start to move up from here, then all financials will be a place to be. And maybe we'll buy this ETF. We'll certainly look at the stocks within it. But, just as things that haven't participated, oils and financials could be one place. And the fact that, tech came back, and it got a little beat up with the internet stocks, but more diversified ETF held up okay, breaking out to new all-time highs. This looks great, like it should continue to move up. And the internet stocks, one of the themes that we talked about, I always think, well, what's happening here? We always have two scenarios. What are the possibilities? Here's this head and shoulders pattern. And one of the things we talked about was when head and shoulders patterns fail, you typically get moved back up to old highs and maybe beyond. So we will be looking at some of those stocks. Now, some of them are gapping up already, so we're not going to chase them, but we've got several themes going on here that suggest this market can continue to move higher, even though it's, gapping up here, 144 points, and we've got to be careful of that. That, there is some initial move up and then some profit taking, and it just comes right back in again. And sometimes those things get out of hand. Remember last week, there was that power trend day. Maybe it was Wednesday, I forget. And it went up and right back down to the lows again. And then whatever, it recovered, gapped up the next day and off it went again. So some wild price action day to day. Overall, looking at the daily charts, kind of has some look of being normal, so, you look at something like this without having actually experienced the day-to-day. It's just like a gap down and this bottoming tail bar that was a big red bar at the time. And it's like, oh, there's a bottoming tail bar near support and prices went up. Well, sometimes in the moment you live those things, and that's extremely valuable to live those days because when you look at a chart theoretically, or say like you take a class and you say that and go, oh, I learned that pattern and so on. But, you live that day, and it's a little bit different, of course, to experience in the moment, the intensity of the selling that all of a sudden turns into buying, and, we're going back up again. So sometimes what appears to be bad in the moment isn't so bad. In any event, these markets are going higher, and one of the things that we do is track market internals. And they're not extreme yet, but we're going to see when and if the wrong way option traders go all in, and that is going to be a warning sign. So something else we'll be keeping an eye on. And, so we watch a lot of things into market analysis, market internals, the trends, and relative strength and weakness to read the tea leaves as to the probability of prices trending, continuing to trend, or when they are getting ready to reverse. And I'm done. All yours, Dan.
All right. Good morning, everyone.